much like the dog chasing the bus. What the hell do we do now?
That's only if you catch the bus.
Yeah, you haven't got the bus yet, man. You gotta do the intro. Then you've got the bus.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Solutions Brewing Podcast. I'm Brendan. I'm joined by Steve and Rob, and they're making me do this because I missed last week's episode.
Correct.
That is right.
What are we talking about today, guys?
Well, it's been a week since the Jasper Beer Fest, and we heard some news at the Jasper Beer Fest, and it got basically confirmed and published, so it is no longer rumor, and we can kind of talk about it with some written authority at least. Big news for craft brewing in Alberta. One good story and one not so good story. The good story being Blindman and Dandy have entered into a partnership relationship going forward here. And the not so good news that Toolshed is in a little bit of trouble financially, it looks like. So do we want the good news or the bad news to start first?
Start with the bad news.
Bad news.
All right.
You always start with the bad news.
Okay. Was it start with the bad news because the good news is probably a lie?
Well, no, so that you have something to look forward to.
Yeah.
No, this good news is good news. But so it turns out that Toolshed is in what's the technical term? They're in insolvency. They're not in receivership or bankruptcy or anything like that, but insolvency, which basically means at the moment they have many debts that outweigh that is wearing on the business.
It basically means they owe more than they're making,
which is very surprising. Very surprising. Because we've mentioned on the podcast before, but for those who do not recall from like 80 episodes ago, Toolshed originally established in the mid-90s. It is the original small craft brewery in Calgary, not counting Big Rock. So the fact that they are, it's not the first time this has happened, but it is definitely surprising for how big they are and how far their reach is, because you see their beers everywhere.
Yeah, it's definitely surprising. And even talking to some other people who are closer to Toolshed, like with Graham.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And basically they were kind of surprised too that they're in this situation. The article that I've read that kind of explained it a little bit more is it sounds like it's more like a tax trouble.
Mm-hmm.
They owe a bunch of the CRA. They owe the CRA a bunch of money.
Yeah, and again, there's no more granularity with it, but don't know if that was like the COVID loans that came out, or if that's something else. Like maybe just they're behind on taxes for a couple years. It's kind of hard to say, but it just kind of out of nowhere.
I think the general thoughts is that it's kind of related to like the business loans from COVID.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So basically, they were taking some of the money, they haven't paid it back. Who knows? Maybe they were anticipating that it would be forgiven. But I don't know. Brendan posted the link for it here.
There's a LinkedIn thing from the CEO of Toolshed kind of discussing the situation a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, not too much deal, but it looks like he's trying to kind of get a little bit more crowdsource funding or other investment to help them get back to liquidity. So,
okay.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to read that later. I don't really want to read that while we're trying to talk about it. But
oh, come on, we can do 5 minutes of dead air.
Yeah.
And then everybody else could just. If we had a video here, we could have got our listeners and viewers to read along with us. It would be like a big grouping sharing thing.
a big big reading circle.
But anyway, the important part of it is the end of his message is if you're a fan of Alberta's most award-winning beer, including the only non-alcoholic beer to win in the beer category, and share my vision, yada yada yada, I invite you to reach out to me directly. So
yeah, so I mean, basically, what they need is some an injection of cash to pay off these debts, and then they can continue operating. So I mean, yeah. So however they managed to solve that problem, I don't know, but that's definitely big news. It's very surprising. Because when I heard it as a rumor, or Steve and I first heard it as a rumor, or was it you were there, Brendan?
I think it was you.
Yeah, it was the second night. Yeah,
it was the two of us. Yeah,
it was the second night.
Other people knew you were chatting.
Hey, you told me a dead dog, and I was like, "What?"
Yeah, I was super surprised. Threw me off guard. I was like, "What? Really? There's no way." Couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
But what's the good news, Steve? Surely there must be some good news out of all this.
Well, yeah, there is some good news. So between two well-known breweries in Alberta, the first being Blindman Brewing out of Lacombe, and the second one being Dandy, originally out of Calgary, they have entered into a partnership. So what was going to happen is that Dandy is going to cease their big can production, and Blindman is going to take that over. So they'll be producing Dandy's beers, like canning them and all that kind of stuff going forward. Blindman is taking a share of Dandy as a part of this, and whatever else is kind of like part of that deal. And Dandy is going to go back to its roots as being kind of an experimental tap house and making weird beers again, which is, again, very surprising because like Dandy's been going like, you see their beers for sale everywhere. Same with Blindman, but to see them kind of get back to what we originally like, was when we first talked about the brewery, our own brewery back in the day. We met at Dandy that first time, that tiny little sliver hole in the wall in the Northeast, and had like 5 sours and a stout.
Yes, I remember I enjoyed the stout.
It was that oyster stout. Salt in there you liked.
No, I like their initial spot. It was kind of a great little concept for starting small and making good beer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of cool to see them going back to experimenting around and still being in a position to more widely distribute some of their hits. So
yeah, because Dandy was very popular in Calgary. You'd see some of their more like their IPAs or something like that in some of the more like northern, like Red Deer or north of Red Deer kind of spots. But you didn't see their weird stuff that far out of outside of Calgary. So this like will get them like a lot larger reach, because Blindman has a decent sized facility for doing this. And yeah, like I wonder what kind of like dealing in the back room was going on. It's like, did the original owners and brewers of Dandy just be like, I just want to be going back to make like importing some weird fruit and throwing it into the beer? Is that what they wanted? They wanted the freedom to do that again. I think I had a yuzu sour there too once. It was interesting.
I think it just goes to capacity, really. I mean, Dandy was very busy, and they probably couldn't keep up, right? So they have beers that are selling. They probably had to keep making them, and then they probably felt like they were turning into like a. I don't like using the term the one trick pony, because they're not a one trick pony, but they probably like just kept brewing the same beers because their system can only handle so much.
Yeah, because their system's still not huge, right?
No,
like Blindman's got the bigger system.
Oh, Blindman's got tons of equipment, so they're lots of capacity over at Blindman.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what Dandy's is, because I've been in there once and saw it, but I'm trying to remember if it was like it was a 10 heck or a 15 heck system, because it was decently sized, but it wasn't like, as you said, like it wasn't really sized for distribution.
No, not really. So I think it just gives them a chance they can be like, oh, okay, we can keep whatever we want on tap and not have to worry about trying to keep, Liquor Connect stocked up.
Mm-hmm. So
and now Blindman gets to do that, and then I guess Blindman gets some taps over at Dandy as well, right? So
yeah, you're gonna see their 5-star Pilsner or whatever it is, or 5 Diamond Pilsner down there.
So I guess Dandy also had distribution into like BC, Saskatchewan, and Ontario.
Oh, really?
So- Okay.
Blindman will get kind of bought into that, so that'll expand their distribution quite a bit as well.
Oh, so that'll work for both. Oh, that's some good synergy then. That's some really good synergy.
Yeah, so looking forward to seeing more of them around. It's awesome.
Awesome. So okay. So that's interesting. So that means Blindmen. I wonder how big this partnership's going to get then if they're able to again push that much farther into across Canada.
That means I'll be able to enjoy them when I go to Toronto.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not that surprised. Blind Man makes really good beer, so I'm not surprised that they're growing the way that they are.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you got. It helps to be a little bit more creative, and they seem to be pretty creative. Other than, you don't want to be like, oh, we need a bigger facility and more beers, and just keep making it up. I mean, 'cause the way distribution works in Canada sucks.
Yes.
Yeah.
The interest, like, I'm just thinking about it. The interesting thing, like, because like I could see it from Dandy's side because, like, them, like their original facility was that again tiny hole in the wall, and then they moved into this spot in I think it's still no, it's actually technically the southeast, but it's in Inglewood, and it's just again an old brick building that they converted. It's got a nice outdoor space. It's got that kind of like old industrial part of town kind of feel to it. And I could totally see them being like running up against that wall and just being like, we don't want to go to another facility. We don't want to move from this area. We like where we are. And just making that decision then to, just brew on site for most of their beers and let someone else handle it. But it's good for them.
Yeah,
it's
I
very
mean,
good for them.
okay, so I mean, you get kind of like the best of both worlds a little bit here, right? Because you get the bigger opportunity for distribution for larger batches, but you also have a place where you're going to get a lot of beer turnover because the Dandy Brewery is pretty busy. Like, there's people going there all the time, right? So you can get to experiment with that and see what's popular, what's selling, what doesn't sell. Try something. You can throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks, basically, right? You have a good medium for doing that. So maybe Blind Man has some ideas for a thing, and you can test them out at Dandy, or So I don't know. I think it's good. Both breweries get a pretty good deal. I think Blind Man gets a better deal out of it, in my opinion, but.
Well, yeah, like I think it's better for them because, because again they're distributing those beers, but it'll mean that their equipment is running at like close to capacity more often, because that's the worst thing in the world is having idling equipment. Because
I don't actually know
all that.
I mean, we have no insight into that. We don't know how much busier that's going to make their equipment or whatever. We can guess as much as we want.
Like everything, we will wildly speculate without any
speculate.
Indeed.
But if they're brewing another 6 beers that are fairly popular, and again, Western Canada or Canada-wide distribution, to keep that going, like, you're just going to have more of your equipment being used more often, which is good because empty equipment is not making you money.
Yeah. So yeah, good to see some Alberta breweries growing. Hope to see some more be able to kind of do that type of thing too, and
hope to see Toolshed back on their feet.
About to say like to see Toolshed get back into the black.
Yeah, I actually might, because I haven't bought any of their beers in a long time. I might go to the store and buy a 4-pack.
That's showing your support there, but
exactly, because I usually buy some of the smaller breweries and stuff, but I guess I have to go back and help them. It's been a while. I'm gonna say I haven't drank them since the no alcohol comparison test we did. Yeah, the Red Rage and the People Skills test.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Cool. So, Brendan, since you also missed the last one, you get to tell everyone how to get in touch.
I don't know if I remember.
Well, we're gonna make fun of you now because of that.
Fair enough. No, if anybody wants to let us know about any other brewery news they have, or any other exciting thoughts about the Dandy Blindman collaboration, you can reach out to us by our website, www.solutionsbrewing.com. There's a contact us page there. It'll send us an email to noproblems@solutionsbrewing.com, or you can reach out to us on the socials, Instagram and Facebook at Solutions Brewing Co.
All right.
Nice.
All right.
You didn't forget everything. Good job. Well, it's a short one this week, but again, thanks for everyone for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time.
Take care, everybody.